nobody knew. Not her coworkers, not her friends from before, not even her family really, not the full picture. Every morning she woke up and did the quiet work, read the book, took the class, made the call she'd been putting off for 2 years, sent the email, closed the account, started the thing. No announcements, no posts, no "I'm on a journey" captions, just the work, done in private, one small, irreversible decision at a time. And then one day, maybe a year later, maybe 2, the people around her looked up and realized something had changed. She had changed, completely, quietly, while they weren't watching. And here's what genuinely fascinates me about this, because it's not an accident. It's not personality. It's not discipline in the way we usually talk about discipline. There is a specific psychological reason why the people who rebuild their lives most successfully almost never talk about it while it's happening. And once you understand it, you'll never approach change the same way again. Here's the thing about trying to change your life publicly. It feels good. Declaring it feels like progress. Telling people feels like accountability. Posting about it feels like commitment. And in the moment, it genuinely does feel like something is happening. But here's what the research keeps finding, and what most people learn the hard way. The applause arrives before the work is done. And applause, it turns out, is one of the most effective ways to stop a transformation before it starts. Think about the person who announces their career change to everyone they know and then spends the next 6 months defending it instead of building it. Every skeptical question becomes a battle. Every slow week becomes evidence for the people who doubted them. The energy that should be going into the work is going into the performance of the work instead. Or the one who posts about their new life on social media and then unconsciously starts making decisions based on what looks right for the narrative rather than what actually moves them forward. They're not building a new life anymore. They're building a story about building a new life. Or the person who told everyone they were starting over and then couldn't bear to admit when it got hard because too many people were watching. And if you've ever felt that strange paralysis where overthinking what everyone else thinks is somehow louder than your own sense of direction, you're not weak. You're experiencing exactly what your brain was designed to do when it feels observed. The psychology behind this is more specific and more fascinating than most people realize. So what's actually happening inside the brain of someone rebuilding in secret? Here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Your brain has 2 distinct systems for processing identity. The first is your current self, who you are right now, how others see you, the roles you play. The second is your possible self, who you could become, the version of you that exists only as a direction, not yet a reality. Here is what researchers at New York University studying behavioral change discovered, and this reframes everything. When people talk about their goals publicly before achieving them, the brain registers the social recognition as partial completion. What that means for you is this: the announcement gives your brain a preview of the reward, and your motivation quietly drops before the work is done. Be honest. How many times have you told someone about a plan and then felt slightly less urgent about actually doing it? That's not laziness. That's your brain's reward system doing exactly what it was built to do, seeking the signal of success, not necessarily the substance of it. And then loss aversion enters. Changing your identity, even changing it for the better, means letting go of who you currently are. And your brain processes that loss the same way it processes any other loss, with resistance, with grief, with a quiet pullback toward the familiar, even when the familiar was the thing you were running from. The people who rebuild in secret have, consciously or not, found a way around both of these mechanisms at once. So let's actually walk through this together. Because knowing why the brain resists change is one thing. Knowing what to do on a Tuesday morning when the doubt is loud and nobody around you understands what you're building, that's a different conversation entirely. The first thing that matters, and this is the part most people skip, is protecting the earliest stage of the process. Not because you're ashamed, not because it's fragile in a weak sense, but because new identities need evidence before they can survive scrutiny. Think about it like a plant in its first week. You don't put it in a storm to test if it's strong. You put it somewhere it can root. The same logic applies here. Before you tell anyone what you're building, ask yourself honestly, does this person have a stake in who I used to be? Because people who knew the old version of you will, without meaning to, keep handing you the old script. So the first move is simple. Pick one behavior, just one, that belongs to the person you're becoming. Not the person you're announcing, not the person you're performing, the person you're actually building. Quietly, in the margins of your current life. Do that behavior today, then again tomorrow. You're not changing your life yet. You're casting a vote for who you're becoming. Now, here's where it gets interesting and where most people underestimate themselves. Around week 2 or 3, the doubt arrives. Not dramatically, just quietly. A voice that says, this isn't working, or who do you think you are, or you should have said something by now. And the instinct, the very human, very understandable instinct, is to go looking for external validation, to tell someone, to post something, to get a signal from outside that confirms you're on the right track. Don't. Not because other people don't matter, but because at this stage, you don't need confirmation. You need evidence, and evidence only comes from one place, your own behavior accumulated over time. This is what psychologists call behavioral evidence accumulation. Every time you do the thing, the class, the call, the early morning hour nobody knows about, your brain receives a data point. One data point doesn't change a self-concept, but 30 data points? 60? Your brain has no choice but to update who it thinks you are. So when the doubt gets loud, and it will, don't look outward, look back. How many days have you shown up? What have you actually done? The case you're building isn't for anyone else. It's for the part of your own brain that's still not convinced yet. And then, this is the part nobody talks about, there comes a moment when the transformation stops being something you're doing and starts being something you are. It's not dramatic, it doesn't announce itself. You just notice one day that the new behavior doesn't feel like effort anymore, that the identity you were quietly building has quietly arrived, that the person you are becoming has become. That's when you can share it, not to prove it, not to perform it, but because it's already real. And real things don't need defending. The goal was never secrecy for its own sake. The goal was giving something true enough time and space to become undeniable. To yourself first, then to anyone else who's paying attention.
Here is what I want you to take from this. The people who rebuild their lives in secret aren't hiding because they're ashamed. They're not quiet because they lack confidence. They're not mysterious for the sake of it. They're quiet because they've learned, sometimes through painful experience, that transformation is a living thing, and living things need the right conditions to grow. Not an audience, not applause, not validation from people who knew the old version of you and aren't sure what to do with the new one. Just space, time, and the daily, private, irreversible decision to become someone different. You weren't failing by not announcing it. You weren't weak for keeping it quiet. You were protecting something real. And real things, built in private, tend to last. Drop a comment. Are you rebuilding something right now, quietly, without telling anyone? You don't have to say what it is. Just tell me you're in it.